I stood at the front of the aisle, fidgeting with my tie for what felt like the 100th time, nerves prickling under the weight of every gaze in the room. Then she appeared, Cindy, walking toward me like the entire moment had been crafted just for her. She was poised, glowing, every step deliberate yet effortlessly graceful. Her dress was simple in style, yet stunning in presence, commanding the attention of everyone in the room. We'd first crossed paths at a charity event my company had sponsored nearly 2 years earlier. She stood out, not just because she was beautiful, but because she was sharp, quick with a comeback, and refreshingly unimpressed by me. I had to earn her attention, and I respected the effort it took. Now here we were, about to bind our lives together. Jason, my best man and the friend who'd been with me through every stage of life, leaned over and murmured, "You pulled it off, Russ." I couldn't tear my eyes from Cindy. "Don't jinx it," I whispered back. He laughed, giving me a solid pat that earned a few chuckles from the front row. The ceremony blurred by. Our vows, the rings, the kiss. It all rushed past in a haze of adrenaline. At the reception, Cindy shined. She mingled effortlessly, danced with my nieces, laughed at every right moment. She reached for my hand when conversations got awkward, handled every situation like she'd done it 100 times. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the woman I want to build everything with. Later that night, we returned to the condo I'd bought 6 months before proposing. She kicked off her shoes, twirled in the living room, and collapsed on the couch laughing freely. I knelt in front of her, took her hands and said, "Come on, Mrs. Hayes. Let's make this night unforgettable." She gave me a tired smile, and gently pulled her hands away. "Not tonight, Russ. I'm completely exhausted." I smiled, kissed her forehead, and told her it was okay. It was a long day. I wasn't going to make it into something bigger than it needed to be. But it wasn't just that night. The days that followed were oddly quiet. I gave her space, figuring we were both adjusting. Between thank you notes, family follow-ups, and catching up at work, I didn't expect fireworks. But the emotional distance lingered. I tried reaching out, subtle touches here and there. A brush of my hand on her lower back. She'd stiffen, pull away, or say she was tired. Always calm, never confrontational. "My body, my choice," she'd say, not angry, just matter of fact, like she'd rehearsed the line. I never argued. I didn't want to be that guy. But it bothered me deeply. One evening over dinner, I finally asked, "Everything okay, Cindy?" She didn't look up from her plate. "I'm fine. You sure? You just seem distant." She met my eyes finally, her face unreadable. "Marriage takes adjustment, Russ. It doesn't just fall into place overnight." I nodded like I believed her. But something didn't sit right. Then the phone calls started, quiet ones, taken in other rooms. Her voice hushed. I'd ask who it was, and she'd vaguely smile and say it was work. Cindy worked in marketing, nothing high pressure or secretive. But now it felt like she was constantly on. She also began asking more about my business. "How much did that expansion cost again?" she asked once without looking up from her food. "Why? Just curious." At the time, I didn't think much of it. She was my wife now. She had every right to ask. But her tone wasn't idle curiosity. It was analytical, calculating. Jason stopped by one afternoon to return some golf clubs I'd left at his place. He stayed for a beer and joked, "So how's married life treating you?" "Great," I lied. He gave me a look, like he didn't quite believe it. When Cindy came in minutes later, something about the way he looked at her, too long, too measured, stuck with me. Her smile in return was polite but detached. Still, I brushed it off. Until that Tuesday night. I woke to the faint sound of her voice coming from the guest bathroom. Not a call with her sister, not a podcast, just her voice, soft and low. I crept to the door and listened. "I'm working on it. He doesn't suspect anything, just be patient," she whispered, followed by a short, intimate laugh. The kind not meant for public spaces. I backed away just in time. She opened the door and nearly bumped into me. Her eyes widened but quickly masked the surprise. "What are you doing up?" "Couldn't sleep." "Who were you talking to?" "Work," she said breezily and walked past like it was nothing. But I knew. I waited for her to fall asleep and then, hating myself, I checked her phone. One name filled the recent call log. Jason. Long calls. Late hours. My stomach dropped, but I said nothing. Not yet. That Friday, Cindy said she was catching up with an old friend from college. She dressed like she was headed to a red carpet event. Tight dress, heels clicking down the hallway. I waited a few minutes, then followed her. From a safe distance, I trailed her downtown. She didn't stop at a restaurant. Instead, she pulled into an alley behind a closed coffee shop. And there he was. Jason got out of his car at the same time. They walked toward each other and kissed like it was familiar. Like it wasn't their first. Like it wouldn't be their last. I didn't confront them. I sat in my car, silent, hands gripping the steering wheel until it creaked under the pressure. No rage, just a quiet, ice-cold resolve. When she came home, I pretended nothing had changed. I asked how her night was. Really nice, she said with a smile. So good to catch up. You deserve it, I replied, voice calm. While she showered, I checked her purse. A burner phone, cheap, prepaid, tucked into a hidden compartment. I didn't need to unlock it. I took photos of it, timestamped them, and emailed the evidence to myself. The next day, I hired a private investigator, someone I'd once used for a company issue. Over 2 weeks, he delivered everything. Photos of Cindy and Jason sneaking into motels, text records from cloud backups, cash transactions she'd lied about. They were planning a future without me. Jason even stopped by my office during that time. Poker night this weekend? He asked like nothing had changed. I've got plans with Cindy, I said smoothly. He smiled, thinking he was winning. But I wasn't just watching anymore. I was planning, laying every brick of the trap. Cindy still asked questions about money, about selling the company, always with that sweet but loaded tone. You ever think about cashing out? Maybe once it's grown more, I'd reply, not really paying attention to the TV, but always watching her hands under the blanket, flying across her phone. Probably texting him, probably laying out a future I wouldn't be in. And I let her. Because the thing about betrayal is, once you see it, you can't unsee it. But you can outplay it. They thought they were clever. Thought they had time, control, the upper hand. But they didn't know I was already miles ahead. By the end of the 3rd week, I had gathered every shred of evidence, photos, financial records, message threads. I stacked it all into a thick folder, the kind that could flatten any lie before it was even spoken. That Friday, I left work early and met with my attorney, Angela. She was sharp, all business. The type you want when you're preparing for war. I slid the folder across her desk. She flipped through it, her expression hardening. Russell, she said. This goes beyond infidelity. She's setting you up for financial ruin. I figured, I replied. I'll get the paperwork started. Want to move fast. No warning, I said. She nodded. Done. That night, Cindy walked through the door around 10, wrapped in unfamiliar perfume and false cheer. She grinned like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just spent the evening with the man she was betraying me for. I greeted her with a glass of wine, kissed her on the cheek. How was your night? Good, she said, sipping lazily. Just girl stuff. She curled up on the couch, phone glowing under a blanket, no doubt messaging Jason, laughing at how oblivious I must seem. I sat opposite her, not angry, not sad, just finished. The next morning, while she was eating yogurt and scrolling her phone, Angela walked into the kitchen and handed her the divorce papers. Cindy blinked at the envelope like it might bite. What is this? Divorce, I said over my coffee. Infidelity. Financial deception. She laughed, as if I was joking. You're not serious. I'm dead serious. I stood up, grabbed my keys. Also the prenup? Solid. And I've got more proof than you'll ever be able to deny. Her expression changed instantly. The sweetness peeled off her face. You'll regret this, she spat. I already regret marrying you, I said, walking away. The wine glass she threw hit the wall behind me. I didn't turn around. Of course, Cindy didn't fade quietly. Within days, she was online, painting herself as the victim. She spun stories of neglect, emotional abuse, loneliness. Some people reached out, curious, suspicious. I didn't bother explaining. The ones who mattered already knew. The rest weren't worth a response. Jason tried to hide. But the private investigator uncovered enough to bury him in his own mess. Their affair was just one layer. Underneath was a plan to drain my accounts, sell my company from under me, and vanish with the profits. One afternoon, he had the audacity to show up at my office. No appointment. No knock. "Russell, man, come on," he started. "Let's talk." I put the blueprints aside. "You want to talk?" I said. "Talk to Angela. She'll be in touch." "You hired a PI? You don't have to take it this far. It wasn't personal." I laughed. "You slept with my wife and tried to steal my company. That's about as personal as it gets." He shifted nervously. Realized too late just how cornered he was. I was desperate. "Cindy had ideas." "No," I cut in. "Cindy had you on a leash. You followed. Now deal with it." I had security escort him out. Not because I was afraid, but because I was done wasting time on him. Cindy's lies didn't hold long. Angela released a clean statement with nothing but facts, dates, transactions, screenshots. The internet did the rest. Overnight, Cindy went from victim to laughingstock. A joke. A footnote. Forgotten. And me? I kept my head down and moved forward. Projects. Clients. Quiet wins. They tried to burn my life down, and only succeeded in setting fire to their own. Cindy kept trying to reach out. Texts. Voicemails. All increasingly frantic. Her last message just read, "You ruined everything. Hope you're happy." I didn't reply. What was left to say? Jason tried launching his own construction firm. No one trusted him. It folded in under 3 months. You can't build anything on burned bridges. Meanwhile, I kept growing. Promoted Eddie, my old foreman, to operations manager. Angela tightened up the legal structure. I'd lost a wife, a friend, and a whole circle of people I once called family. But what I still had was mine. My name. My business. My future. One evening, I took a drive past the city limits. No plan. Just chasing clean air and space that didn't smell like drywall or courtrooms. I ended up at an old overlook. One of those places teenagers used to drink and pretend the world was simple. I parked. Stepped out. The city lights shimmered below, pulsing like a living thing. Somewhere down there, Cindy was still twisting the narrative. Jason was probably still lying to himself. Didn't matter. I thought back to our wedding day. How tight my collar felt. How sure I was that love and loyalty were enough. How wrong I'd been. I smiled. Not bitter, not broken. Just wiser. Some things break because they were built wrong from the beginning. The real tragedy would have been staying blind to the cracks. I'd taken the hit. Got back up. Now I was building again, brick by brick, on my own terms. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel, one of our newer coordinators. No drama. No pretense. Just a simple message. "Drinks after work Friday? Just us." I looked at it for a while before slipping the phone into my pocket. Not because I was trying to fill a gap. Not because I needed anyone. But because this time, whatever came next, it would be by choice, not by default. I glanced back at the city one last time. Then I got in the truck and drove on. Not escaping, just moving forward. Exactly the way it should be.